Hey everybody, welcome back to another BladeXLord video. Today we're going to be talking about the Knights Order Decatrials. This is the Water Edition, and it's been delayed because of some issues with the game. However, we're able to get in now, and I've been trying it out, messing around with the Sacred Treasures, trying to increase my score, and I am ready to share some tips with you. So we're going to get into that, and I'm also going to share at the beginning of the video my pulls from the previous Decatrials banner, which is a really cool feature I didn't know about in this game, and make sure you go check your summon tickets if you haven't seen this yet. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so before we get into this video, let's take a look at the Knights Order Nightlord summon, which is boosted rates on units and weapons, their according weapons, picked by our last Decatrial champion, the Nightlord himself, Indorsey. So this is a player that came first in the Decatrials, and they've picked Heathbell, they've picked Charles, and then they've picked this guy here, which I'm totally blanking on his name right now. But they are all units that I'm interested in. I have two of them already. So we're going to get a free summon here, and if we click on the offering rates, we can see that all the other units are included, but you also get these rate ups on the units that are featured, and then the rate ups on their weapons, but everything else is still there. So you can really get anything. It's a free summon, you get one, it's pretty awesome. So let's give it a try. Okay, here we go. Well, that's a good sign. I don't know, I guess this technically could have nothing, right? So let's, or by nothing I mean no SSR, but it looks like we got lucky. I didn't see anything about a guaranteed SSR. Oh, well, it looks like we got very lucky, so let's get in, let's see what we got here. Okay, some Squall Fencers. Demon Slashers, very interesting names here. The Hyper Mech Type 0. Little Final Fantasy action there. This one's always my favorite. I always see this and it looks like an SSR, like it doesn't and it does, because it's just colorful, so that makes me think SSR, but it obviously looks pretty dumb. This looks pretty cool, the Succubus Bow. And then, nice! We got an SSR bow, which I'm going to be able to put on Hein, which is pretty cool. I'm just getting a glimpse of my hair. It's a little wacky right now. I got my first haircut today after a long time. Hey, so that is a Lightning SSR sword. I can't use that yet, but that's okay. Okay, we've still got another chance here too. And another copy. You know what though? This makes me want to pull on the Lightning banner to try to get a Lightning team to use this sword with, and then I can use Charles as well. But I mean, that seems pretty risky, including if you think about the time limit I have to actually do this, like get my team up and then use them in the current trials. I've got 2 days, but man, is it tempting to actually get in here. Okay, let's see. So boosted rates, I can't see anything about a guaranteed SSR, so that's, yeah, just 10%. So I just got very lucky. So I'm a lucky guy. So yeah, that's going to be it for the summon, and that's a very cool thing that I did not know was going to happen. So I'm pretty psyched about that. But with that said, let's get into the video. Okay, moving on to the Decatrials, we're going to talk a little bit about the different things you can do to increase your score. So when you enter here, you're going to notice that we've got our 4 quests, and the top quest is pretty tough. I actually have not been able to beat it yet. I've gotten pretty far, but there's one DPS check that I haven't been able to get past. So I've mostly been working on the advanced quest here, and I'm trying to increase my score as much as possible. So what I've done is I did this a few times, and I actually did it with both of my parties. So I tried this with my tank party, and that was simple enough. So then I tried that with my breaking party, and I noticed I could clear it faster, and I could actually get higher scores just because of the faster clear. Even though the overall might of my party is lower, the score I can get with it is higher. And you can see from my last video that Hein is, I've definitely increased his power. I've been able to do a lot of weapon farming as well to get all my sub weapons up, and I've also worked on all my accessories a bunch to get those all maxed, and I just need to set aside some time to auto loop for accessory mats, because I've been so focused on crystals and other things and event stuff that I haven't looked at really developing my accessories more than what I have here. You can see it's a lot of the basic accessories, just good versions of them. So that's on my horizon of things I need to be looking at. And I've got so many Lord Stones that when I do eventually pull, that's going to be really solid, because I can hopefully get some good weapons, and who knows what kind of banner. We're probably going to get a water banner next, but if I could get some light weapons, or even if I get some water units to put my water weapons on, then I'm going to be in good shape. But taking a look at this, the actual Decatrials here, got a little sidetracked there. I'm working with a party with 1 DPS, which is Heathbell, and then I've got 2 breakers, which is Lieselot and Hein, and then Atril's there to heal, which is important because the boss has a big attack that's still pretty important for you to actually to heal through. And then there's your sacred treasures. So I did like, I think about 3 with each party without using any sacred treasures, and then I started using sacred treasures to compare with and without, and what I was able to find was the obvious, that using sacred treasures is very useful, but I also found out that there's certain ones that I prefer. So we're going to take a look at some of the sacred treasures right off the bat, and then we'll get into actually looking at the battle itself. So here you have your whole list of sacred treasures, and if you need to buy more or just get them from drops, you can farm the Knight's Order event, the trials there first, and then come back over here. But you should have a healthy amount if you were just farming the trials anyway, so you should be good to go. There's a cost associated with each one, so you can actually see you have to build your cost under 100, so you can't just stack 4 really good items. And I also noticed that there's a count for 9 here out of 9, and I think once this is out, I haven't actually tried to use this, you can't use this item. So even though I own more of certain items, once you've used 9 of them, you can't use any more, which is kind of a bummer, especially since this is one of the break ones, and that's one of the better ones. So that's something I'll have to look into. I didn't realize that was a thing in this game, which is kind of a bummer. You can see them out, but it also just had that thing out of 9 on a lot of them. Okay. So the break one, obviously, that is a really solid thing to use. Just for 10 seconds, you have a better chance to break the boss. And that is a bronze version of it. It's a level 2 bronze, and you can go all the way to level 3, silver, gold, and they just get stronger and stronger the more, the better quality item, but the higher cost it's going to be. Another one that I found quite useful was the Disrupt. So this is going to increase disruption when you have the boss inside here, which is again really solid. There's a couple of times where the boss moves, so you have to be really careful, but this is also going to be a really solid sacred treasure to use. There are some other ones, including reviving your allies and recovering their HP, and this would be something that you would bring into the highest level difficulty if you were just close enough to beat it, but you know, maybe you have a guy die, then you need to res them, you can use that, but otherwise you're not going to need it. If you're pretty proficient on a stage, you don't need to do any more, like you don't have to ever res anybody, so you should be good there. So this one here, this Excellence of Spirit, reduces cooldowns for all party members and skills, and speeds up the cooldown rate. I haven't tried this one out yet because of how expensive it is, both in its little cost up here for 60, but also because of its super rare rarity, so you're not going to be able to get these easily, so I don't want to waste them. And that kind of goes for all the super rare ones. But I've been just trying out kind of like the lower rarity versions to see what we have here. So there's a few other ones I'll talk about. So there's one that gives you regen. Again, that's if you're trying to beat a fight that you can't beat easily, or if you want to just heal up. I don't think that affects your damage taken though. And then otherwise, I think, yeah, that's another break. Let's see, there's one more here. Okay, and there's one where buffing are increased, and debuffing on the boss are increased, like the rate or the effects of the buffs and debuffs are increased, decreased, and that could be really solid as well if you have a debuffer. I would be very interested to see how this works with somebody like Shias, but I have not tried that, so we're gonna stick to what I've tried. And then finally we have, there's more, like there's a lot of, it's actually really hard to keep up with how many sacred treasures there are. Honestly, there's a lot, too many to test in the short time we get to do this. But this one's kind of interesting, increasing your Brave Gauge by 1. I don't really have an issue with my Brave Gauge. It's pretty expensive too. And then there's other stuff, increasing your soul burst gauge. That's kind of interesting. I would be interested in trying that one out. Massively increasing defense. I would also be very, very interested in trying this one out. But other than that, we also have all of these scrolls. And these scrolls are going to inflict a status effect on your opponent. And you might be wondering how useful that is. Well, it depends on which one you're going to do. So you can see there's ones that cost 40, and those are, those are going to be obviously much better than the ones that cost 10. But why is that? So if we take a look at this one, Scroll of Stunning, it's going to make our opponent unconscious. It's going to put stun on them. So I'm going to pull up my little chart here, and we'll maximize that so you can see here. Okay, so stun is going to make your opponent unable to move for 5 seconds. That's not really that big a deal, but it's also going to double the amount of break received. So for 5 seconds you get double break. That's why that one costs 40. Freeze is going to make them unable to move, and it's going to double their disruption. So obviously those are two very potent effects, the second part of them, not the first part. There's all the other things here too, including burn, poison, frail, and paralysis, and also disease. These are less important, so there's going to be, like, you can do a little bit of damage with burn and poison, but the important part about the burn and the frail and paralysis and all that stuff is that they also have other debuffs on them. So when you burn someone, you also decrease their defense. When you put frail on someone, you decrease their attack. When you put paralysis on someone, you're going to reduce all of their stats slightly. So there's a lot of really solid things that come with these scrolls. So it's not, when you look at Scroll of Paralysis, you might think, okay, well, I don't know if that's useful on this boss. It is, because that's actually going to decrease their stats and not just put paralysis on them. So it's important to note. So those are important to try out as well. I haven't tried the break ones. Again, I don't have very many of the expensive ones, so I have to be careful with the testing, because there's just, like, there's variance too when you're testing. So I like to, if I'm going to say something definitively to you, then I'm going to have tested it more than 2 times with the Scroll of Stunning. But I have used the break orb many times, 9 times, and I have used the disruption orb, and they've definitely given me some results. Those are 2 easy ones you can start with, and then maybe bring the poison with you if you can. So we're gonna have to make, so what we're gonna bring in, we'll bring the disrupt, or the stunning here, and then we'll also bring this defense boost. And where is that one? Right here, okay. And then we'll try these out. We'll take a look at this fight and give you an idea of what you're in for if you haven't tried this out yet. And maybe if you're on a lower difficulty and you're working your way up, you're gonna see how the mechanics scale for every single boss fight. They all have the same mechanics, but then they're just kind of added. There's more HP involved, there's better stats, there's more, like, the waves of ads will spawn more rapidly, lots of stuff like that. So here we go. So right off the bat, the boss is going to summon some ads pretty quickly here, and what I'm going to do, he also immediately puts a lightning, or a buff to all elements except for lightning. So what I do is I go focus attack here. I'm on auto. I'm actually going to un-auto the combat for a second, because I don't want it to automatically switch to the ads. I want to keep fighting the boss, and I'm going to manually hit my AoEs. And as you can see, now I'll go back to auto for a sec here so I can talk. As you can see, I was able to AoE the ads just like I could in the trials, and That way I'm still mainly fighting the boss. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use the stun on the opponent here, and we're going to see if I can rapidly fill up this gauge. And one thing you'll notice is that there's actually a timer until I can use an item again, so keep that in mind, that you can't stack some of these items. And we can also see how quickly that just went up. In that 5 seconds, it already went up almost halfway to full, so that's going to be really solid. So we'll be able to go straight into a break here and then just fire off a couple of Heath Bell's abilities to get a really, well, let's see how high we can go on this break damage. It would have been nice to get a soul burst as well, but this is still going to be pretty solid. Okay. Awesome. So at this point, once you've broken him once, and that wasn't my best break. Oftentimes I'll get him all the way down to his final bar on that break, but that's more when I'm playing manually. So he's going to put this bubble up, and once he puts the bubble up, he's going to start summoning these ads, as you can see here. And these ads, they're a DPS check. So this is where I get stuck on the hardest difficulty. If you cannot defeat these ads, they will explode, and at least on the highest difficulty, they wiped my party when they exploded. So you'll see that the Valna familiar is going to explode. It will give you text on the screen, so you just need to focus them down as quickly as possible, and that's why it's important to have this focus attack set on your for your party. So at this point, he's going to come out of his bubble, and he'll start charging up his specials now. So he'll charge up his specials as many times as he can. You can see it's charging up here. What we're going to do is we're going to try to break him before he can use his special. And if I had been able to do more break damage, then maybe I could have tried to finish him in 2 goes. So that's on this difficulty. You should probably just be getting the 2 breaks, and you want to finish him in the 2 breaks. If you can do so, you're going to have a really quick time, and you're going to take way less damage because you won't have used his special. Now, if you're not able to, the biggest thing you want to do is just really increase your DPS. So maybe he's going to get 1 special off, but maybe you want to make sure he doesn't get to that 2nd special. Whatever it is you're looking, and I'm going to actually soul burst here so that I can really focus in on man. So the breaks is not increasing nearly as fast as it did that first time. So that's something to keep in mind, that it's not always, your skills aren't going to be always queued up for this. So this is where the other break orb, the one that I ran out of, is way more useful, because it has a much longer time that it lasts for. It lasts for 15 seconds. So you can really get a lot of use out of it. Okay, so there we go. We've broke him. We're going to really just get after him here and get these Heath Bell. And I'm not even worrying about the ads right now. I'm just going to try to get these attacks off, because we really want to finish them off. Our time stopped here. It's at 2:21. So this isn't my best time. My best time was 2 minutes and 4 seconds. And that's where I would have broken him before his big attack. Oh, 2:05 is my best. Sorry about that. And then you can see my best break also was a little bit higher than that. It was about somewhere in like 4:30, and then this is pretty close to my highest score. So here you can see all the results of what you did, and this is important. If you're trying to improve and you're trying different loadouts, then you're going to want to record this stuff. You want to look at your times, you want to look at your number of breaks. That's pretty straightforward. Your highest break damage, or all this kind of stuff. And then don't forget, you always have your battle report up here, so that you can check in and see what everybody's doing and how useful they've been in their roles, and who's like taking the most damage. It's always going to be your tank. So here it's going to be these top 2, and that's going to be it. That really is. It's not. So it's interesting. It's an easier event than last time, but this top difficulty one is quite difficult. If your DPS is not high enough, you will not be able to beat it. It doesn't let you just beat it in 10 minutes like the other one did. If you can't get past the DPS check, then you can't beat it. So you have to. It's hard. It's harder in that sense that it gatekeeps you, but it's easier in that you don't have to be using that little move around, follow me command to make yourself dodge tax. So that's kind of nice in a way. So anyway, so once you try to get your highest score, you're going to get your rewards, and then don't forget that we're also going to be able to, so these are the rankings here, you can see what you get, that we're also going to have a store. And what I'm saving up for is this dark tank right here. So that's going to be a few more trials for me, at least 2 to 3 more. Although, man, there's some pretty tempting items to go for here. Alright, so that's going to be it. Let me know, though, if this video was useful to you, because then I'll just keep making these each Deca trials. And if you don't mind, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. That is a great way to show your support for me, and I really do appreciate it. That being said, we're going to take off for today, so thank you so much for coming by to watch, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching this video. You can show your support with a like and subscribe, and by checking out my Patreon at patreon.com/MysidiaGaming. Until next time, keep it real, Mysidians.